Hey guys, Tom LoBianco here, editor, co-founder of 24 Site News. I got Brandon Jarvis, Virginia Scope, with me here. Before we hop in, we're going to be doing a deep dive on the Virginia primaries. Before we hop in, a couple of scheduling announcements on tomorrow, Friday. Catch me, Trigby Olson, and Reed Galen for our latest episode in the series, Trigby's Rules for Fighting Autocrats. We're on to rule number 5. You can catch everything over there at 24 Site News. And on Monday, I'll have Charlie Sykes, the Charlie Sykes, one time a legendary conservative radio talker out in Wisconsin, now at the front of the resistance. You've probably seen him on TV quite a bit. He's an old friend, so look forward to that. For now, though, we're getting ready for Tuesday. Tuesday is June 17th. It's the Virginia primaries. So we got Brandon Jarvis here. Brandon, how's it going?
It's going great. I'm excited for primary day so that we can move on and I can get some sleep.
That's well, for at least sleep for one night, maybe two, before you're back
Yeah,
at it.
yeah, it'll pick right back up with the governor's race now that they can really have a focus and the AGs can go at each other and the LGs can go at each other and it'll be a whole different fight.
So, what give us the top lines here, man. What are the big races that you're watching right now? Where are the big contests?
So there's no primaries for governor. Those nominees are set.
Mm.
The Democratic AG and the Democratic LG primaries are actually the only primaries taking place. Republicans are all set. And for the most part, the races throughout the whole cycle have been boring, but the AG race has exploded in the last two
Mm.
weeks. And the LG race started to pick up this week with very little time left. And so it's gotten interesting. It's gone from 0 to 100 very fast,
Mm.
especially in the AG race. Um, Basically, what happened is in Virginia, there's two big Democratic donors. Dominion Energy, our public utility company, they supply power to basically the entire state and a lot of other states too. They're a huge influence in Virginia politics. They give a lot of money to both sides of the aisle. They're focused on both sides of the aisle, and people
Mm.
worry about them buying influence because the General Assembly and the Attorney General, which we'll get to in a minute, they are tasked with oversight of Dominion. And then you have Clean Virginia, which largely gives just a Democratic opponent or candidates,
Mm.
and their focus is essentially getting Dominion's influence out of Virginia politics. And and so it's really like a 1v1 on the Democratic side between they're funded by Michael Bills, a hedge fund, millionaire, probably billionaire, if you look at how much money
Yeah.
he just throws into Virginia politics. And so Clean Virginia has a lot of influence as well. And their candidates, they kind of go at each other in these primaries. Clean Virginia does a lot of attacking. Dominion doesn't really comment. Dominion kind of just stays out of it unless the candidates
Interesting.
are their own. But they also have a huge uh, bank. I don't know where their money comes from. I assume their money comes from us, and then it's funneled through PACs and stuff. So that's a problem a lot of people like to point out. Um, what happened is uh, the report came out in early June that Shannon Taylor, one of the Democratic Attorney General candidates,
Mm.
received
Yeah.
like something like a $250,000 donation from Dominion. And she had already gotten some money from Dominion, and then her opponent Jay Jones had already gotten 400,000 from Clean Virginia.
Mm.
Once this report came out, Clean Virginia went on the offensive. They released
Mm.
they made an attack ad. It was authorized by Jay Jones, and it
Mm.
went up on air. They spending like something around $300,000 on that ad.
Wow.
Um, then the next day, Dominion gave another 200,000 to Shannon Taylor. I think the total for this cycle from Dominion is $650,000, and it it's a lot of money. It's Dominion's also funding the Republican Attorney General, who is the nominee. He had no primary. He's gotten something like $900,000. So Dominion's got their hands.
Really
They're hedging their bets.
interesting.
Um, so Shannon Taylor and Jay Jones are really going at it over this Dominion Clean Virginia money. Really, Jay Jones isn't saying much about it. Clean Virginia is doing it for him.
Mm,
Jay's Jay says he's focused on his campaign and what he'll do, and Clean Virginia is focused on the fact that the Attorney General is tasked with a lot of oversight of Dominion and their rates and stuff like that, facing them in court, allowing them to build wind farms and use our money for different things.
right. Right.
So that's a lot of the controversy. So this week, 14 legislators, one sitting congressman, Suhas Subramaniam from Northern Virginia, a former congressman, Tom Perriello, who a lot of people
Mm,
might know, he lost his job. He represented a rural Republican district for 2 years during the Obama administration.
I remember that. Yeah.
Essentially lost his job because he voted in favor of the Affordable Care Act. Obama
Oh,
talks about him
yes.
specifically in his book. And so he signed it. Then, like 10 or 11 sitting legislators, all backed by Clean Virginia,
Mm.
signed it. And a former legislator who's also backed by Clean Virginia. They put out this open letter calling on Shannon to recuse herself from anything related to Dominion if
Oh,
she
boy.
is elected. So that happened. Shannon keeps pointing out that Jones, back in 2017 and 2018, accepted $1,500 from Dominion, which was before Clean Virginia existed.
Mm.
Um, and it's also $1,500 compared to $650,000 now.
Yeah.
But I mean, he did accept it then. It's fair to point that out. She also points out that several Democratic powerful legislators take Dominion money, like Speaker of the House Don Scott, Louise Lucas, Scott Surville in the Senate. These are all powerful Democrats, like the top of the Democratic food chain. So Dominion's still got that influence. If you buy into that, they're buying influence.
The power
Um,
company has the juice.
yeah, and so this stuff's
Constantly.
this stuff's really interesting to the insiders.
Yeah.
It's hard to really think that people who just going about their daily life, going to work, coming home, eating dinner, really care. But Clean Virginia is trying to get the message out why you should care,
Yeah.
and and it's been a mess. It's gotten dark. I mean, I don't imagine that Shannon Taylor and Jay Jones are going to be friends after this primary. As is often the case, primaries get darker than general elections. You know?
They really do. Yeah. It's well, do you think I mean, in a practical sense, what does that do in terms of cases the AG would pursue or not pursue? I mean,
I
what does
mean,
that mean?
it's kind of up in there. So the AG is the people's attorney. Really, they defend the Commonwealth. They're supposed to have the Commonwealth's best interests.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know. I mean, there's something they had to do with a wind farm recently. I didn't go into the nitty gritty of the story, um, but they deal with a lot of the court hearings and stuff like protecting ratepayers and stuff. But there's also the State Corporation Commission
Hmm.
who does that too, and they're appointed by the General Assembly, but they operate separately. So, like, the General Assembly doesn't govern them; they just are involved with choosing who is on the State Corporation Commission. It's technically its own little branch of government. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you're appointed by the General Assembly, I don't know. It's all a big
Mm.
circle of wanting influence, and you can find it. And there's also this thing of like the Clean Virginia candidates who essentially take a pledge that they will not accept Dominion money, they still
Right.
get that Dominion money. I mean, because Dominion gives to the caucuses and they give to the Louise Lucas, Don Scott, Scott Sorrell, who then give money to their candidates who, so I mean, Dominion's not dumb. They reached the top for a reason.
So
They're
the
able to
money
give,
is laundered by the time it gets to the clean
yeah,
candidates.
yeah. And I mean, Clean Virginia, I mean, they know that. They're doing the best they
Yeah.
can. I don't know at the end of the day what their mission is or what started this. They say clean governance and clean energy, but who knows? That's something I want to dig into here in the future is
Well,
see.
I'll put on my, I used to, many years ago, I used to be a trade reporter in energy, about 15, 16 years ago, uh, letting the energy, clean energy onto the grids, accessibility. I suspect I haven't looked into this myself, but typically with these renewable places versus some of the old school ones. Dominion run on? Is that coal? Is it how's Dominion operate?
Well, so they have some coal ash, they have renewable, they have wind farms
Okay.
off in the Atlantic Ocean, and,
Hmm.
I mean, they're trying. There's the Virginia Clean Economy Act where they put limits and caps and goals that they have to reach in the next few decades and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So I mean, Dominions, they're they're diverse in their energy, but they do have
Okay.
coal power plants. There was just this effort to build one in a suburb outside of Richmond, and there was a big effort against them
I
doing
bet.
that. I don't recall if that's been finalized or what, but the people who are on the Dominion side, or not necessarily on the Dominion side, but on the Republican side of
Yeah.
environmental issues, are like, we can't have all this demand. I'm pretty sure Virginia has the most data centers in the country,
That's
and
right.
the data centers suck
Uh,
up so much energy. So people are worried about blackouts and stuff like that,
yes.
Texas and stuff, because it is getting hotter. My AC
Yeah.
is on blast, and I'm the type of person who's like, if I'm gonna
That's
work,
right.
I'm gonna be comfortable in my home. So it
That's right.
there's worries about that, and there's worries about, like, can these clean solar powered, wind powered things actually keep up with the demand? So
Hmm.
Dominion kind of walks that line of, yes, we're trying to do better,
Fascinating.
we're trying to appease, because they are just as much in with Democrats as Republicans. And if the Democrats that take the Dominion money, they still voted in favor of the Clean Economy Act, and they still vote
Okay.
for. So it's it's wild. It's not a straight line by any means.
I haven't looked at it in a while, and you got me thinking about it now. I should actually ask Chat GPT to give me a rundown on this. Um, the energy, if I mean, God, to the extent this still exists and the information is available, might have to go to archive first, the Wayback Machine first, given what the feds have been doing with our data. Our data, I would note, that's public data. The Energy Information Agency or Administration, EIA, used to publish some really good annual reports on consumption sources and whatnot. And for years, it was coal was dominant, but I know recently solar and wind have been ticking up a good bit. More consumer
Yeah,
accessibility. Very fascinating. I mean, you see it all over the rooftops now,
yeah.
among other places.
I mean, and if you go through rural Virginia, you'll find these properties that just have massive solar farms, and
Mm,
Dominion's in the process and already has it's already working, a wind farm off the East Coast. So I know they're trying. I don't know how effective it is. I'm
mm.
not an energy nerd, which is cool. That's not a diss on energy nerds. I wish I knew more. But
Man, fuck that. This thing's over, man. Stand up for energy nerds.
hell
Yo.
yeah, go for it.
Clean and Dominion. Y'all just send the money.
Yes, yeah. Hey, they do sponsorships. Go for it.
That's
But
right.
but who knows, man? It's gonna stay a battle because you're not gonna get the straightforward truth from
No.
any side, because
Uh,
both sides are getting funded by someone. And at the end of the day, politics is more powerful than a vote, and you can't get a vote without money.
uh,
So it's
yeah, man.
gonna remain a debate. It's been a debate since Clean Virginia came on the scene in 2018. So it's wild.
Remarkable, man. That it's one of the most fascinating things about Virginia politics. I think back to Kaylee, who was Kaylee Clausen, was covering this. Was doing a lot of reporting around this for us at 24 site here, and uh, on the one hand, you kind of have, and you've written about this at Virginia Scope. On the one hand, you kind of have these advertisements that they put out there, which are nationalized, right? Which are attacking Trump, attacking Musk, attacking Kash Patel. You name it. Pick one of them. Pete Hegseth. Um, and that certainly makes sense. Certainly in an AG's race, right? That makes a lot of sense. But then the mechanics, as you're talking about here, it's I wouldn't say it's parochial, but it's very enclosed. It's two energy outfits, banging heads. All
Yeah,
right, nothing to do with Trump and Musk.
yeah. I mean, like I said, Jay Jones isn't really talking about the Dominion money publicly. He's focused on Elon Musk and Donald Trump, and Shannon Taylor the same way. I watched
Mm,
a Zoom forum with them 2 nights ago. and they're side by side. They're not next to each other. It's virtually side by side, but they focused on standing up to Trump and doing what they want. Shannon Taylor puts more
Yeah.
focus on her experience as a prosecutor,
Yeah.
although there's not really much criminal prosecution that happens in the Attorney General's office. Um, but in general, it's standing up to Trump, standing up for women's
Yeah.
rights, and
Yeah.
joining these lawsuits that they want Jason Miyares to jump in on. And at the end of the
Mm.
day, everything's pointing towards Democrats winning all 3 seats and expanding
Interesting.
majority. So Jason Miyares is suffering. Jason Miyares is really the only of the 3 Republican statewide candidates who's kind of running a serious campaign. John
Mm.
Reed, I, there's a lot of backstory and all the drama between the
Just
3
love
statewide
it, man.
that I'm not going to
Love it.
put you. Y'all should all go read it if you haven't caught up.
Where we
But
find it, where we find it, hit it, baby.
on Virginia Scope, or anywhere, just Google John Reed Winsome Sears and you'll find it. But it's there's no unity between the AG, LG, and gubernatorial nominees on the
Yeah.
Republican side, and it hasn't been a huge deal because there's no Democratic ticket. But next Wednesday morning, there's going to be a Democratic ticket, and it's best believed they'll all 3 be
Huh.
hitting the Commonwealth Road together. So it's going to be wild. But I think part of the reason these primaries are getting a little more intense at the end is because they realize this is the competitive race that's happening in Virginia.
Yeah.
As a journalist who makes money off of these races, I hope it becomes more competitive. But it's not looking that way.
I think it's fascinating, man. We got these. I mean, you got a headline showdown between the governor's candidates, but both fields cleared, really, which is
Yeah.
remarkable. So you got us talking about LGs and AGs. Let's talk about the LGs, man. What's happening over there?
All right. So there's 6 candidates. Um, there's been basically no shots fired by any candidates. They're all essentially
Hmm.
the same thing. There's 4 more serious candidates: Bobber Lateef, a Prince William School Board chair, former Richmond Mayor LeVar Stoney,
Hmm.
2 state senators, Ghazala Hashmi and Aaron Rouse. Those are the 4 serious candidates for the
Hmm.
nomination. They're all essentially the same on issues. Hashmi and Rouse have been taking money from gambling entities, which has been
Hmm.
a little
Interesting.
bit separate. But Stoney also was big into gambling as mayor. He tried 2 years in a row to get the city to pass a referendum to bring a casino. He's not anti casino
Yeah.
still. He was just anti the one casino in Fairfax after so much public backlash. He must have had some good polling. Bobber Lateef, he's anti casino and stuff like that. The shots have been fired in
Hmm.
recent days. So let's go through this. Saturday, we were at an event in Arlington or Alexandria. I don't know. I get those Northern Virginia localities confused. I'm a Richmond, I'm from Richmond.
That's fair,
And
man. They're somewhat interchangeable.
yeah, and so after the event, um, a Richmond Times-Dispatch reporter asked Stoney
Hmm.
about the water crisis that happened
Oh,
for backstory, 6 days after
yeah.
Stoney left office in Richmond. It was January 6th of this year. January 6th, a big day in politics.
If.
Um, he the water plant lost power briefly. There's a switchgear malfunction, something like that. And the city did not have running water, let alone like we didn't even have water to boil. Like we did not have running water for like damn
Really?
a week. And it's called the Richmond Water Crisis. It has a Wikipedia page, all that. And so it
How'd you get
is,
your water?
huh?
How'd
What'd
you
you
get
say?
your water?
We didn't have water. Like my parents lived nearby. So I would go to their house to shower or something or and fill up like big things of water, but we didn't have water.
Wow.
And then they keep having issues at the water plant ever since. But that's a whole different story for a whole different reporter, whatever. The rich, it essentially it goes to show that during Stoney's time, they didn't fix problems they should have fixed, and it was
Mm.
6 days after. The current administration had some communication failures with the public, but it was the mayor's 6th day on the job. It's hard to blame him. So the Richmond Times-Dispatch reporter asked this Saturday if Stoney wishes they had done something different to switch the gear, and Stoney basically he basically said, "I wish the administration before me, like 8 years prior, would have made the fix." He says they found out we needed to fix that part. They didn't. We essentially went through the procurement process to get the part, but they didn't fix it. Um, so then fast forward to Monday, we're at an event for Aaron Rouse, his
Mm,
opponent, where that former mayor Stoney mentioned was endorsing Rouse. The Richmond Times Dispatch reporter asked him,
mm.
like, what do you think of what Stoney said? And he was basically like, it's unfortunate that he blamed me. And I, you inherit the problems you inherit, and it's not fair to blame them. And then Rouse took it even farther and was like, I'm paraphrasing, but
Oh, you cut out right for the good one, man. What the what?
bringing.
All right, do that
Can
again,
you hear
man.
me?
Dude, that
Am I
was
back?
that was Dominion cutting the power, man. Talking too real here. Okay, cut out right
Yeah.
for the good stuff.
Sorry about that. So I had to send a text to tell someone to stop calling me. They went through my do not disturb. Um, so it, Dominion. So where was I? I was talking about Stony. Or so Rouse
So, what did the
called it
former
crazy.
mayor say? Yeah.
He was blaming. He said, Rouse said it's crazy to blame a former mayor for his issues,
Mm,
and he could have gotten the jobs done. And then Stoney responded and said, "Oh, well, Rouse. It's funny how Rouse at the General Assembly didn't do anything to help us when we needed the money to get funded to fix these
mm.
problems. He has no executive experience and stuff like that." So those are the shots being fired. The Richmond Times Dispatch, I sent you the article earlier, had a great line:
Yeah.
water issues trickle into lieutenant governor's race. So, but
That was,
in my opinion, it's just too late. Like Rouse had all these months to really come at Stoney. I mean, we're
mm.
primary days, what, 4 or 5 days? I don't know. I'm bad at
Yeah,
math.
and voting's been underway for about a
Yeah.
month, right?
Yeah. So it's it is it's been crazy. Or it hasn't been crazy. This week has been interesting, but really these are the only shots fired. Everyone's
Mm,
going back to like beating Trump, focusing
yeah,
on issues, and like we've talked about in our last life, the issues don't matter for the lieutenant governor. Yeah, they'll cast tie-breaking votes,
yeah.
but it's really just been that the gambling casino money, which happened back in May, and then this beef between Rouse and Stoney. It
Well,
made it interesting and made it an interesting closeout, but that's uh that's basically been it. So we'll see who wins. I really don't know. So many candidates, no one really differentiating themselves. And but I think these water hits on Stoney would have been effective if they did them weeks or months ago and just kept
you
it
got to
going.
hammer it. Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
But that's basically it. That's the AGLG wrap up. I try to
Okay,
keep it as close and tight knit as I could, but I could talk about
it's
this
good,
stuff
man.
for days.
Oh yeah, baby. Well, we'll get you back for a recap after the demolition is over, after all this clean and Dominion money has smashed everyone to bits.
Yeah, we'll have to
Um,
do a recap next week because
yeah.
we'll see what the voters actually cared about.
All right, guys. I'm Tom LoBianco, editor, founder, 24 Site News, with Brandon Jarvis. Brandon, where do we find your work?
VirginiaScope.com, or you can search the Virginia Political Newsletter on Substack.
Awesome. Brandon, thanks for being here, baby.
Thanks. It was fun.
All right. All right. See you guys.